He died needlessly. He died bloody. This trial was merely the mopping up. This trial was the costly and time-consuming exercise a civilized society went through to put a good face on letting a scumbag go free after ending the life of a fine man. From the outset, the prosecutor had been intimidated and outsmarted by the defense attorney, the flamboyant Pinky Duval. The trial itself had lasted only 4 days, but its brevity was disproportionate to the interest in its outcome. "It should be an open and shut case," one pundit had editorialized in the Times-Picayune the day the trial commenced. "An egregious mistake on the part of the NOPD has left one of its own dead. Tragic? Definitely. But justification to pin the blame on an innocent scapegoat? This writer thinks not. The DA is squandering taxpayers' money by forcing an innocent citizen to stand trial for a trumped-up charge, one designed to spare the New Orleans Police Department the public humiliation that it deserves over this incident." This quote was from Pinky Duval, whose innocent citizen client, Wayne Bardo, had a list of prior arrests as long as the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. Pinky Duval's involvement in any court case guaranteed extensive media coverage. Unsolicited opinions were as lavishly strewn about as colored beads during Mardi Gras. By contrast, since the night of Kev Stewart's death, Lieutenant Burke Bazille had maintained a stubborn, contemptuous silence. Amid the frenzied hype created by the media, nothing quotable had been attributed to the taciturn narcotics officer whose partner and best friend had died from a gunshot wound that night when a drug bust went awry. Now, as he tried to re-enter the courtroom to hear the verdict, in response to the reporter who shoved a microphone into his face and asked if he had anything to say, Burke Bazille's succinct reply was, "Yeah, fuck off." Burke was already seated when Patou joined him. "This can't be easy for Nancy," he remarked as he sat down. Kev Stewart's widow was seated in the same row as they, but across the center aisle. She was flanked by her parents. Leaning forward slightly, Burke caught her eye and gave her a nod of encouragement. Her return smile was weak, suggesting no more optimism than he felt. Vastly different moods emanated from the camps of the opposing sides. At the defense table, Bardo and Duval seemed to be sharing a whispered joke. Burke would be hard-pressed to say which he loathed most, the career criminal or his equally criminal attorney. When Duval was distracted by an assistant from his office and turned away to scan a sheaf of legal documents, Bardo turned his head. Connecting with Burke's gaze were flinty dark eyes. Lizard thin lips parted to form a chilling smile. Then Bardo dropped one eyelid, in a wink. Burke would have come out of his chair and lunged toward Bardo if Patou, who'd witnessed the insolent gesture, hadn't grabbed Burke by the arm and restrained him. "For Christ's sake, don't do something stupid." Burke yanked his arm free of his superior's grasp. Seconds later, the court was called to order and the judge resumed the bench and asked an aide to summon the jury. 7 men and 5 women filed into the jury box. 7 men and 5 women had voted unanimously that Wayne Bardo was not guilty of the shooting death of Detective Sergeant Kevin Stewart. Nancy Stewart uttered a sharp cry, then crumpled. Predictably, there was jubilation at the defense table. Pinky Duval began waxing eloquent into the media microphones. Wayne Bardo was shifting from one bally loafer to the other, looking complacently bored as he shut his cuffs. The son of a bitch had known he had this rap licked, just as he'd beaten all the others. Burke kept Bardo and Duval in his sights as they triumphantly worked their way through the crowd of reporters toward the exit. Each slowed down when he reached the end of the row where Burke stood. Each made a point of looking Burke straight in the eye. Wayne Bardo even went so far as to lean forward and whisper a hateful but indefensible fact. "I didn't shoot that cop, Bazille. You did."